As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game. It is my retro gaming podcast where every week a buddy of mine and I sit down and we geek out about the games we played back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening to the show. This week it is episode 213, and we're talking about one of the weirdest fucking games I have ever played. Oddworld, Abe's Oddysee for the PlayStation 1, the OG PlayStation. I should have said the oddest game I've ever played. Oh, fuck. I dropped the ball there. Anyway, odd, weird, funky, hard as fucking nails. These are all accurate ways to describe this game. I've never played it before. I always thought it was just a generic shovelware, dime a dozen PlayStation game. We all know there was tons of those back in that era. But then our very own Blaine the Hoagie Man sponsored this episode of the show and said it's way better than a shovelware game. You need to play it. And I did. And I'll tell you, I don't know if I've ever rage quit and come back to a game more times than I did with Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. I don't think I've ever done it this much. Fuck, definitely not since the NES. Anyways, this game is so goddamn hard on your first playthrough. It's a platformer/puzzle game, and between the wonky ass platforming controls and the occasionally pretty tough puzzles, Oddworld will break you. This is a tough game, and when I was playing it and I was throwing hissy fits online on Twitter and stuff like that, a ton of people were weighing in. Some were saying they love this game. Some were saying they fucking hate it. And you want to know, like, I can totally see where both camps are coming from. I did finish it. I went from hating it to the more I played it, the more I liked it. And now that I'm done it, I do like this game. I definitely have more gray in my beard than I did before I started playing it, and I have a fucking ton to say about it. So Blaine and I had a chat about why he subjected me to Oddworld Abe's Oddysee in the first place, why he loves it so much, and then my buddy Tyler popped by the podcast to reminisce about the controller throwing, rage-inducing, frustrating as fuck, but still really fun oddball that is Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. And we'll get there in just a minute, because speaking of being rage-inducing, frustrating as fuck, but still pretty fun, it's time for another edition of the Remember the Game infamous intro.
Dun, 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 dun.
And if you're new to the podcast, welcome aboard. Consider this your warning. Our intros are kind of long, but they're fun. Our intros are, you know what? They're way easier to get through than Oddworld Abe's Oddysee is your first time through. But seriously, if you do want to skip the intro, if you're just here for Oddworld talk, go to about the 30-minute mark, and you should be around when we start talking about Oddworld. But hang around. We do like fun video game chat and stuff in the intro. I do have to get my plugs out of the way. It's how we pay the bills. We have merchandise, hoodie, t-shirts, coffee mugs, tank tops, posters, all kinds of stuff. All drawn incredible art, or all rocking incredible art. Pardon me, drawn by my man Joe at 4545creative.com. You can find our merchandise at rememberthegamepodcast.com. If you're interested, it is a great way to support the show. And of course, if you're like me and you're like, close, overrated, you can always support us on Patreon because it's just $2 a month to start. And you're going to get 2 additional podcasts every week. Not 2 additional podcasts a month, 2 extra shows every week for $2 a month. You get exclusive access to my gaming news podcast, Game Patch, every Friday, where I look at all the biggest news in modern video games and I add in my opinions. It's some profanity and that stuff I do. And Expansion Pass goes live every Thursday, and it's a different show every week. We do game rankings. We look back at characters, consoles. We do some comedy episodes. There's modern game reviews. This past week on Expansion Pass, I actually reviewed Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS5. I know I'm a little bit late to that party, but I finally got around to playing it, and it was delightful. I love this game. And as always, my review was 100% spoiler-free. I did tack a short spoiler cast on at the end, but I warn you before the spoilers start, so if you've not played Miles Morales and you're on the fence, you can still listen. I won't ruin anything for you. And as is becoming tradition during the intro, here is a sneak peek of last week's episode of Expansion Pass, my Spider-Man Miles Morales review. If I didn't have the backlog that I do to work on, I would probably go back and fuck around with some of those collectibles. I don't normally enjoy doing that kind of stuff, collectibles and things, but just playing as Spider-Man and web slinging around New York is so much fun. We'll get there in a minute. So there is extra meat on the bone if you're interested in it, but know that like the main campaign is not a 40-hour game or anything like that. Personally, I feel like I got my money's worth in that 10 to 12 hours. Again, I like short games. That's me. I'm not the type of person that associates length to value, and nothing wrong with it if you do. Just, that's just me. I've always been of the mindset of give me 10 great hours of a video game over 50 mediocre hours for the same price. Like if I'm paying $60, $70, $80 for a game, give me 10 mint hours over 50 hours of like, and I'll take the 10-hour game. That's my preference all day. So that's now available on our archives. And this week for Expansion Pass number 127, I'm going to drop another modern game review. And this might be one of the most anticipated reviews in the history of Remember the Game. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection is available now. I am going to review the collection as a whole, and I'm going to actually rank the games in the collection at the same time. So again, $2 gets you 2 additional podcasts every single week, plus instant access to well over 200 archived episodes. Plus, you can join our Remember the Game Discord. You get a chance to vote in our Patreon poll at the end of every month. You get the ability to submit comments to be read on all of our podcasts, and you get a shout out and get to hear me mispronounce your name like I'm about to do to most of these people. A huge thank you to our newest patrons, and this is a record-breaking week for the number of new patrons we've got. It's fucking insane, so thank you all so much. Here we go. M. Reyes, Shane, Alan Flores, Robert Carr, Blake, Tronsler, Oh My God It Froze, Drifterhawk, Hunter Simmons, Stacy, Kev, Philip Marchand, David Winchester, Tim Freer, Radical, I get it, Tu Hung, you guys are fucking with me, I got you. Rob, I'm not smart, these are tough. Rob Harank, Ocarina of Scissor Me Timbers, Mac Daddy ×4, Bobby Litton, Sauce Boss, Nick Davies, James Whitaker, Orange Sharma, Matt D, Chris Cochran, Brandon Dzeba, Joel Gattaca. Oh my God, I suck at this job. Joel Gattaca, Roger Russell, Ojim, Lopes CP, James Childers, Max Renault, Tyler Lynn White, JB Sharps, Jared Andrade, Troy Evers, Kia Pup, Eddie Lopez, Gingerbread Jedi, Knife Goes In, Guts Come Out. I get that reference. This is the one I've been most scared of. Marcus Royce Hyjarvelainen. I think I ruined that. Salmon Avocado Roll, Andrew G, TJ, Tyler, Pew Does YouTube, Adam Bezemek, Marcel Broski, Sir Bustalot, Roto Baggins, and Ben Torma. I have no doubt I fucked up a ton of your names, but thank you all so much for the support. Patreon.com/rememberthegame. To wrap up the sales pitch, 2 quick notes. 1, we have annual memberships now at all of our Patreon tiers. If you're interested in a one-time payment, you're set up until this time next year. You get the 12th month free if you sign up for a year-long membership. And 5% of our Patreon is getting donated to the Stollery Children's Hospital in December as part of my Remember the Children 24-hour charity stream at the end of the year. We're over $1,900 raised already. So you get a ton of podcasts. You keep the lights on here, and we'll help some sick kids out at the same time, all right? Patreon.com/rememberthegame. And finally, you can find me at twitch.tv/rememberthegame if you want to watch me play video games and get mad and make fun of my nose and whatever else it is you want to do. Twitch.tv/rememberthegame. Hit me with a follow. It's totally free, and then you'll know when I'm on because I have no real schedule, all right? That's enough blowing myself. Let's blow some of you by blowing in some cartridges. It is our opening segment here on the show. I read a few comments and questions from our patrons, usually gaming related, but not always, and we call this segment Blowing in the Cartridge.
He blows all right. He blows big time.
That's it, honey. Get into the spirit.
Let's blow. Our first blower this week is Maddie D, who wrote in and said, pumped to be a part of the Remember the Game Patreon family now. You've made days at work absolutely fly by with your rants and wicked guests. Thank you, Maddie. My question for you is, with the rumors of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess being announced at an upcoming Nintendo Direct, which would be the first you would dive into for the show, assuming you would do episodes for each of them? Well, actually, we have done... And, like, I actually forget sometimes. I won't lie to you, Maddie. I put your comment into blowing in the cartridge because I was like, man, both of those games would make excellent episodes of Remember the Game. And then I went through my own archives to make sure. And we actually covered Wind Waker, gosh, a long fucking time ago. I'll tell you exactly what episode it was. How do I search? There we go. Wind. Episode 46. Holy Christ, that's a long time ago. We did cover The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. That said, so I would probably play Twilight Princess first if I was going to, but I have the GameCube edition of Twilight Princess sitting here. Thanks to my buddy Daniel hooking me up with his copy. So I'll probably, if I ever review it, I'll probably play that one. For all of you that don't know, I don't always talk about modern game rumors on here, but there's a lot of rumors we're going to get a Nintendo Direct sometime in the month of September. They've never not done one in the month of September. And a lot of people are saying Switch ports of the Wind Waker and Twilight Princess are going to be part of that Direct. And before you're like, well, Nintendo's selling us old games again. I know. Just don't buy them. That's what Nintendo does. I'm more intrigued by Wind Waker because I would love to play Wind Waker again on my Switch. I haven't played it since the GameCube, but Twilight Princess is the one that I never finished. I played it on the Wii and didn't really like it. I never finished it. So, we have covered Waker. We'll definitely cover Twilight Princess at some point. Thanks, Maddie, for writing in. Hogzilla wrote in and said, second time caller, do you enjoy all dressed chips? I know it's a thing in Canada, and I've had the Lay's version in the States, and it was fire flames good. Keep up the great work, and I'll hang up and listen. Yes, for all of you that don't live in Canada, I don't know what you guys have for all dressed chips outside of this great country of ours, but we have all dressed chips. They are fire. Someone asked me, how would you explain what all dressed chips taste like? I don't know. Like, I think the bag shows like onions and vinegar, and like they've got some punch. They're punchy chips, but they're delicious. I will say I don't particularly like Ruffled chips. I'm a flat chip guy, Pringles, Lay's, stuff like that. But all dressed Ruffles are fire. They're my favorite. They're actually probably my second favorite chip, after just plain, because I love the salt. Is just all dressed Ruffles chips. They're delicious. So if you have never tried them, fucking try them. They're outstanding. Vic Vinegar wrote in and said, hey, Adam, how do you decide if a game is worth the money? I take the approach that if I'm willing to spend $10 for a movie ticket and get about 2 hours of entertainment, then I should get roughly 2 hours of gameplay for every $10 spent on the game for me to feel at minimum that I got my money's worth. I'm curious if you have any method of deciding the value of the game. Not really. Honestly, and I get why a lot of people are like that. I have no beef with that. I like short games. So if I was only buying games that I was getting X amount of hours per dollar, then I wouldn't be buying a lot of games or I'd have to wait for everything to go on sale. I love short games. 10 to 15 hours is the money spot for me. That's golden. So as far as determining the value of a game for myself, it's just a matter of if I'm interested in playing it. And then it just comes down to did I have fun? If I had fun, then sure, I'm in, And if I didn't have fun, I don't give a fuck. I said it before, you can give me 200 hours of content for $50. If I don't have fun during that 200 hours, then I'm like, that was a ripoff. Whereas you can give me 4 hours of content for $50. And if I have a blast during that 4 hours, I got great value for my money. So I don't really have a way to determine the value of a game. It just comes down to how much did I like it. That's really it. And yeah, I know it's kind of a lame answer, but I like short games. And I love indie games, and indie games, a lot of them are short. But then also like roguelikes are fire, and those things can go for fucking tens, if not hundreds of hours. So I don't really have a way to decide. It's just a matter of whether or not I had fun. I feel like that's like a fucking participant medal answer. Like, well, let's all just have fun. That's all that matters. But it's true. As long as it's fun, I don't care. That's me. Gamer 2017 wrote in and said, okay, Adam, I tried wrestling last week, keeping the trend alive this week. If you could pick one match to go back and see live/front row, what would it be? Mine would be Undertaker Triple H at WrestleMania 28 with HBK as the special referee, if not for the fact that it features the greatest near fall in pro wrestling history. Sweet chin music into the pedigree and then the kick out. Michael selling in the corner afterwards personified the gut-wrenching tension we, the fans, held in that moment. I know exactly what we're talking about, Gamer. If I could go back and see any event or any match to see live in the front row, it would either be Taker HBK 2, HBK's retirement match from WrestleMania, or the Royal Rumble from 1992, where Ric Flair wins the world title. It'd be one of those two, or maybe one of the TLC matches between the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. But that's my number 3 after Taker, HBK, and the Royal Rumble 1992. Oh my God, to see that Royal Rumble be so fucking sick. I've always wanted to just sit front row at a wrestling show. I've never sat at the front row. That'd be so much fun. Cal C wrote in and said, hey Adam, I've been listening for a month and I've loved every episode I've heard so far. Give it time, Cal. There's some duds. You'll find them. As a fan of retro collections and remasters, which would you say so far has been the best? For myself, it's been the Mega Man X collection. Whilst others have been great, that's the one I've had the most enjoyment from, although the Cowabunga collection may soon change that. That's a good question. I've been thinking about doing an expansion pass where I rank all the retro game collections and remasters that I've played over the years. But like the short list would be the Contra collection, the Castlevania collection, the Castlevania Advance collection, the Sega Genesis Classics collection, the Mega Man Legacy collection, Mega Man Legacy 2 collection, Mega Man X collection, the Cowabunga collection. I think those are the most memorable ones I can think. I mean, unless you're counting stuff like Mario All-Stars or Mario 3D All-Stars. Of those, it would either be the original Mega Man Legacy Collection, which features Mega Man 1 through 6, or the Cowabunga Collection. And you'll hear more about Cowabunga Collection tomorrow on my review and expansion pass, but it's really, really fucking solid. I would rather play Mega Man 1 through 6 over and over again than play these Ninja Turtle beat-em-ups over and over again. But I think the Cowabunga Collection is better quality, if that makes sense. So it'd be one of those two for sure. Blade wrote in and said, hi, Mr. Blank. We all know you're a huge Simpsons fan, as I'm sure many of us hot dogs are. What would you say would be your top 3 episodes? Don't worry about the episode names, just a brief description will do fine. If that's too difficult, maybe just your top 3 quotes, although that might be even harder. Appreciate all the entertainment you provide and much love from Down Under. It says Aussie accent, Down Under. I hope I nailed your accent. Your accent. That's terrible. That's like a Boston. I don't even know what the fuck that was. No, I can do a top 3 episodes. Top 3 quotes would be way harder. My top 2 Simpsons episodes of all time are, and I think they're called Homer Goes to College and Homer at the Bat, but I don't know titles at all. But it is the episode where they recruit all the major leaguers to be on their softball team, and the one where Homer goes to college. And then my third favorite would probably be Lemon of Troy, I think is what it was called. The one where they go to Shelbyville to get the lemon tree back. Those would probably be, I mean, there's so many other great ones, but those would, yeah, off the top of my head, those would be my 3 favorite episodes. Homer at the Bat is my favorite episode ever. After that, it gets a little wish-washy, but probably College and Springfield would be my 2 and 3. Or pardon me, College and Shelbyville. Shake harder, boy. Thank you, Blade. And finally, before we move on, it's letter time. Bucky Duck wrote into us and said, hey, Adam, I heard your recent ads for Backbone. Sounds like a cool product, but without asking you to comment on it, what are your thoughts on peripherals like these that allow you to potentially play a PS5 or Xbox remotely on your phone? Does this boost the status of mobile gaming or essentially turn every console into a handheld? And do you see this as a potential future competition for the hybrid consoles like the Switch and the future Steam Deck? Does it challenge their relevance and push Nintendo to compete with the processing power of next gen? Keep up the good work, buddy. Well, thank you, buddy. Bucky Duck. Let me just get out of the way first of all. Yeah, if you guys have heard it, we do currently have ads running for the Backbone 1 mobile controller. I just want to say, I just think this is an interesting discussion. I am not getting paid. Like Backbone sponsored the podcast. They did send me a free unit to use. I have really enjoyed it, but I just want to say, do not take my answer to this question as me pushing you to go out and buy a product or anything. I get no commission. Backbone paid me X amount to read their ad over X amount of episodes. I did it. We're done. Like, that's the end of this relationship. I'm not a shill. I mean, I am a shill. I'm a total sellout, but I'm not getting paid any extra money if you go out and buy a Backbone based on my answer here or anything like that. I just want to make that clear. I just think this is an interesting discussion. So, as Bucky Duck asked, do peripherals like these controllers that turn your mobile device into a way to remote play your Xbox or your PlayStation or anything, does it boost the status of mobile gaming? I do think that. I don't play a ton of mobile games, but these controllers that you can put your phone into that you can then use, you can use it for more than just PlayStation and Xbox. You can play certain mobile games with it. And I don't play a ton of mobile games, but I would be far more inclined to play a mobile game if I had a controller to play it with. It's not completely optimal. I have to take the case off my iPhone and drop it in and then get it all set up. Like, it's not just it's not a half a second thing. It takes a few seconds to get it all set up, which is a little bit of a pain in the ass. And I haven't used it to play any mobile games. But when it comes to stuff like Call of Duty Warzone or Apex Legends Mobile or Minecraft or Fortnite or anything you've played on your phone, having a controller does, enhance the experience. So I do think it boosts the status of mobile gaming. Do I see it as future competition for the hybrid consoles like the Switch and the Steam Deck? No, I don't. Maybe some people do. I've been using it to play both remote play of my PS5 and xCloud, just streaming games on my phone. For what it's worth, it's worked really well, but like, I've been playing The Last of Us Part 1 on my PS5, and I tried it on my phone with this controller, and it worked, but it ran slower than a Switch would run it, because I'm playing it streaming, and that's a pretty big game to be streaming. So it was playable for sure, but it was I can't be near my PlayStation right now. This is better than nothing. Whereas the Switch, it's not your PlayStation, but it is an actual console. Same with the Steam Deck. It is an actual console in your hands. This is just bridging the gap thing. Using xCloud on my phone has been really dope. Just to give you an idea, I've been streaming games like Dead Space, Fallout 3, Hollow Knight, MLB The Show, all to my phone, and they've all been playable. Gears of War, they've all run at a playable clip on my phone with this controller. Again, it doesn't replace sitting in front of my Xbox with a better frame rate on a bigger screen. So no, I don't look at them as something that could challenge the Switch or particularly the Steam Deck. I just look at them as an alternate way to experience my PlayStation or Xbox and a better way to experience mobile games. Do we ever get to the point where maybe they can compete with them? Perhaps. Maybe if I can download, like I said, I've been playing Fallout 3. If I could download Fallout 3 onto my phone and play it with this thing, now maybe. Because I want to play Fallout 3 on my Switch and I can't. Now maybe. But even then, I'd rather have the Steam Deck than playing it on my phone. But then I guess your counteroffer to that is everybody has a phone. Not everybody's going to plunk down $500, $600, $700 for a Steam Deck. So I don't look at them as competition. I just look at them as another way to game, if that makes sense. I'm sure it'll keep getting better, but that's the way I look at it. And I just, again, want to just clarify, please don't interpret this as me trying to sell controllers or anything. I don't get any kind of a commission or a kickback or anything for anyone that buys a controller. I've just been using one. It's been my first experience using a controller on a mobile device, and I have a lot to say about it, and I thought it was an interesting discussion. But this is not a sales pitch by any stretch, all right? I just want to make that abundantly clear. Okay. Thank you, Bucky Duck. And thank you to everybody that wrote in this week. We got to move on. So let's switch things up and get into our Smash Hit segment, the official game show of Remember the Game Industries Play 1, Remake 1, Erase 1. And a huge thank you to Classic Concentration from the NES for unknowingly providing us with the theme music for the show. The rules are simple. Every week, I give our listeners 3 retro video games. They can play one as it was released. They can remake one as a modern game. The third game is erased from time forever. As always, there are no wrong answers, but there is a right one, and we'll get to it in just a minute. And this week, I figured we're talking Oddworld Abe's Oddysee, which features farts in a very big way. So I went with 3 more fart games because, yes, I'm a 38-year-old man with a 12-year-old trapped inside of me, and I still think farts are hilarious. We're going with Boogerman, Fable, and Conker's Bad Fur Day as our contestants, and 39% of you said you would play Fable, remake Conker's Bad Fur Day, and erase Boogerman. You're fucking crazy. That is wrong. I say there's no wrong answers, but there is a right one, but I take it back. That is wrong. No fucking chance. 39% of you are wrong. Let me see what a few of you had to say here, and then I'll tell you what the right answer was. Jason Durham wrote in, and said, play Fable. I played the second and loved it, but the third really pissed me off royally in the end, so maybe the innocent first of the series can warm my heart again. Remake Boogerman for the simple fact that its title is Boogerman, and erase Bad Fur Day. I never played it when it came out because I thought it looked too childish, and now I'm in my late 30s playing it might make me question my life. And yes, I know this contradicts my statement about Boogerman, but I'm old enough to make my own poor decisions. I will say, it's funny that you're like, play Boogerman because it's Boogerman. Get rid of Conker's Bad Fur Day because it's too immature. I've not played Boogerman, but I have played Conker. Conker, I assure you, is not too kiddish. I assure you of that. I was like 36 or 37 when I played Conker's Bad Fur Day, and I was like, I don't know if I should be playing this. I promise you it's not too... It controls like shit, but it's not too childish. I promise you. David Winchester wrote in and said, I have some fond memories of all 3 of these games, but the choice was pretty easy. Play Boogerman because it's a platforming classic and the art style and design hold up well even now. Remake Conker because this is the game that needs another remake, not The Last of Us. The jokes are timeless, although some people may find them offensive or in bad taste. I think it would get a pass if it stuck to the original script, and the graphics could benefit from new fur physics and modern, faster load times. Also, they should remake the multiplayer from Live and Reloaded while they're at it. The Normandy level was rad online with tons of people back in the early Xbox Live days. And finally, erase Fable. I love the franchise, but I haven't missed it at all since it's been dormant. And honestly, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was everything Fable should have been anyways. Love the podcast. Keep it up, Mr. Blake. Love you, David, for calling it as it is. Kingdoms of Amalur is a better Fable, and I will fucking die on that hill right beside David Winchester. Thank you so much. Case fucking closed. Good answers. I like it. Super Sweet Joachim, am I saying that right? I hope. Super Sweet Joachim says, play Conker, fun game for its time, even with the censoring. Remake Boogerman, boogers and flatulence in HD. The world isn't complete otherwise. Erase Fable. Many games does what Fable promised, much, much better. We don't need it. Agreed. Many games does what Fable does better. Agreed. We reviewed that game, sometime in the last 6 months, and it just didn't impress me. I know it's like 20 years old, but I remember everyone being disappointed back then. I was disappointed in it fucking now. So I agreed 100%. And Roger Russell wrote in I keep wanting to say Roger Rabbit. Roger Russell wrote in and said, I'd play Conker as that game was very decent back in the 64 era. What middle school age child wouldn't love a swearing, hard drinking squirrel? Come on, remake Fable. I'm not an Xbox guy, but I had a modded out original in college, and fuck, the first was so good. I loved it and wouldn't mind seeing what they could do with it today. Erase Boogerman. This was tough. I had to dig deep here. I rented Boogerman for the Sega like crazy as a kid, but now it just doesn't have the appeal to me that it once did, sadly. Well, then you need to fucking grow up, because his name is Boogerman, and he should appeal to he should be mainstream. Forget The Boys. That show should be Boogerman. I mean, you don't need to grow up, Roger, but I've never played Boogerman, but I'm so intrigued by that fucking game. Not bad. No answers really made me angry this week, other than the fact that 39% of you got it so wrong. 25% of you got it right. You voted. That was the runner-up poll on the poll. And it was the same way that I voted, as did Jeffrey Zollers, who wrote in and said, hear me out. Play Boogerman because I've never played it or heard of it. And I mean, come on, it's a guy made of boogers. It's awesome. Remake Conker because I feel like a cleaned up version will be great. And erase Fable because I've played tons of times tons of times when I got my Xbox for Christmas back in the day. I don't necessarily agree with your reasoning, but I absolutely agree with your order. I would play Boogerman because I have not, and it looks like my type of game. I love farts. I love gross out humor. It's a 2D platformer from the 16-bit era. I'm all about it. I got to play Boogerman. I'm going to remake Conker because I love everything that game is doing except for the controls. I played it on Rare Replay, and I just thought it controlled like a fucking 3-wheeled shopping cart. It drove me fucking bananas. But it made me laugh so much that I kept coming back. So remake it, modern graphics, sexy as fuck, make it control well. It's my game of the year. And then I'm erasing Fable because, as I've made it abundantly clear, I just don't think it's that good. The best part of Fable is that I can fart on command. And I can do that in Oddworld. And Oddworld Abe's Oddysee is a better game than Fable. And I know that's going to piss some people off. I stand by it. I did not care for it. So I can erase it and not lose any fucking sleep over it at all. Thank you so much to everybody that played. What have I been up to over the last 7 days? And then we'll get into Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. I have been playing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. pretty well nonstop since it dropped last week. I'm going to review it tomorrow, so I'll let you know more about it. It's really good, though. It's really good. I've been playing Half-Life. I finished Half-Life, or almost. I got to the final boss of Half-Life. I could not beat the final boss. We will be reviewing that game. If everything works out, that'll be Remember the Game number 216, but I'm not 100% confident about that. I have a lot to say about the original Half-Life. I'll save it for the episode. I have a lot to fucking say about that game, but I'll save it for the episode. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto 4 in preparation for an upcoming episode of Remember the Game. It's my first time playing it. I'm really, really liking it. San Andreas is my favorite GTA so far, but 4 might knock it off its perch just because of Roman. That guy's fucking hilarious. And I have been playing The Last of Us Part 1 on my PS5 because I'm Adam, part of the problem blank, and I bought it even though the game probably didn't need to exist. And goddamn, I love The Last of Us so much. And for all of you asking, we are going to cover The Last of Us on an episode of Remember the Game someday. I just want to do it on a milestone number, either 250 or 300. We will cover it someday, I promise. There you go. That's what I've been playing. Let's get into Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. That's why you all are here. I like to give a few of you a chance to sound off on the game that we're talking about before my guests and I hog the microphone. Marcus Roy Jarvelainen, sorry Marcus, wrote in and said, I had this game's demo disc as a kid and I played through it like 1,000 times over. I asked my parents to buy me the full game, but they thought I was getting enough enjoyment from the demo that they didn't need to spend the money on the full version. Instead, they bought me a snowboarding game that I barely even touched. They knew I had no interest in sports games, but the game's name was Cool Borders, so it had to be cool, right? I'm happy to see you cover this game so I can finally hear what's beyond the first level. You know what, Marcus? Even if you had gotten the full game, you might not have gotten past the first level anyways, because it's too fucking hard. But I understand, and I hope you enjoy this. GC Freak wrote in and said, great game. I originally played it on PC at first, but the port to PS1 was a great conversion. Yes, the game is hard, and it has some puzzles, but when you finish that level you've been stuck on for ages, it feels so accomplishing. I actually agree with all of that. As frustrating as this fucking game is when you get past something, it's like getting a sliver out. It is just... oh my God, it's the best fucking feeling. Skiller Rooney said this game is a classic to me. I remember not knowing what to do, farting all the time and laughing, then getting the other Medalkins killed. I never beat the game, but it's always been a good memory. That actually sounds a lot like my experience with the game, minus I did beat it, but I didn't save a lot of the Medalkins and I did fart and laugh a lot. Tom Commando said the story in Oddworld games is very dark and the games are weird. I played the shit out of this game on my PlayStation back in the day, and I played through the remake lately as well. The fart functionality could add value to a lot of games. Controls are so bad but fair. It only adds to the weirdness that this game is all about. And let me say, and I think we get into this on the podcast, like I like tank controls in my Resident Evil games, despite the fact that I know they're hard to control because I feel like they add to the tension. I do think the weird controls add to this game. It's just really frustrating. But I do think the game wouldn't hit quite as hard if it just controlled like a normal platformer. I get where you're coming from. And Eddie Lopez, the name sounds like a wrestling name, but maybe it's just because of Eddie. Eddie Lopez said, I remember going to my cousin's house growing up, and my cousin Junior would always be playing this game. I used to think it was a weird puzzle platformer with a fart button, but I didn't hate it. In fact, I respected it. Abe's Oddysee does its own thing and proudly does it, and at the end of the day, it stands on my PS1 Mount Rushmore next to the other mascots like my beloved Crash and Spyro, Final Fantasy, Tekken, and Metal Gear. So I really like what you said there, Eddie, because I played this on my PlayStation Classic, and I did not have to hack it. This was one of the 20 games included with the PlayStation Classic. And I've always been of the mindset that like Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil are the big 3 games on the PlayStation Classic, and everything else is meh. And now that I've played this, I'm like, this belongs in that conversation. I truly believe that this game is as good as those games. It's just more frustrating than, well, I don't know. Metal Gear Solid's pretty fucking frustrating sometimes. But I like this game so much that I would put it in the conversation with them. Personally, I think I like this game better than Metal Gear Solid and better than Final Fantasy VII. I think I like Resident Evil more. But I like this game better than those other two. And so we're going to talk about it. First, I'm going to chat with Blaine the Hoagie Man, sponsor of this week's episode. And by the way, I just want to say I asked Blaine why he calls himself the Hoagie Man, and he messaged me after we recorded this chat. It said partially because he wanted to start a supervillain team called the Legion of Food, which I really respect. So first I'm going to chat with Blaine the Hoagie Man, and then my buddy Tyler and I are going to break down Oddworld Abe's Oddysee in its entirety. I'm going to cue up some music, and when it stops, we are going to look back at Oddworld Abe's Oddysee for the original PlayStation that released in North America on September 18th, 1997. In 25 years. Jesus Christ. Almost to the day. Like 2 weeks short. Enjoy the podcast, everybody. Let's go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. Okay, so as I'm sure I mentioned during the intro and everything, this is one of our illustrious sponsored episodes. Remember, the community has basically jumped the line and said, hey, Thumbnass, play this game. And so my guest this week is Blaine the Hoagie Man from our longtime member of our community. So a couple of things. First of all, Blaine, what's up, man? How are you?
Blank man, how's it going? I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I have so much to say about Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. I don't know if I've ever had this much to say about a fucking game, but we're going to get into all that. Before we do that, I have to ask you on behalf of the community, because several people have asked me to ask you, why are you the Hoagie Man? That's, if you don't know, that's Blaine's handle in our community is Blaine the Hoagie Man. Are you just very passionate about hoagies, or what's the story here?
I do enjoy myself a good hoagie every so often. I probably have them like more often than I should, to be honest with you. And I don't smell like a hoagie, I will say that. But
that Subway smell, like
Subway smell, yeah. But no, like, yeah, I'd say I enjoy a hoagie or two every so often.
I love it. I saw your handle the first time. I remember the first time I saw your handle, and I was like, either this dude makes hoagies for a living or just loves sandwiches, and I'm down with either one, because I love a good hoagie myself. So I had to ask. People were like, you better fucking ask him. So there you go. For all of you that have given me shit and told me to ask him. Let's get into the main course here, which is Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. I have never rage quit a game, but come back to it as many times as I did this playing through it. So I'm going to explain why when I get into the main podcast with my buddy Tyler. The floor is yours, Blaine. What the fuck? Why this game? Why were you so passionate about Oddworld Abe's Oddysee that you went this far to sponsor an episode? I'll shut up. What's the story with you in this game?
Well, I'll let you in on one little secret. Now, would you believe me if I ever told you that I used to play this game when I was a kid?
I would, but I'd also wonder why, like, I'm looking at you on a Zoom call and why none of your hair is gray. Because if I had played this as a kid, I would have graduated gray, because this game stressed me out.
Probably would have torn my hair out. But anyway, in all seriousness, growing up, I had a couple friends that we would, stay the night at each other's houses. And during like the N64 PS1 era, you always had your multiplayer games, which, we played as well. But every so often we would implement this game in our nightly sleepovers. And yeah, it has a 2-player mode, but what we would do is just throw a single player on. One of us would start playing, we die, pass the controller, and it was just a blast to have, like you would just laugh at every single time it would happen. And I had a friend who wanted me to point this out. Anytime he'd blow up, Gylo's arm would flap around. Always a fun sight to see for us. But, then again, we're probably a little not right in the head a little bit, but
So, okay. First of all, I didn't even realize it had a 2-player mode. What the fuck? What do you do in 2-player mode?
It's the same type of thing. Like you just play the game, but like once player one dies, player two takes over. It's like so it's really you don't really need to play it that way. Like I said, you could just if you
Oh.
have friends, you just pass the controller around and
But like, so when you play a two player, if you say player one like rescues two people and like solves a trap and then dies, does player two like is it like the original Super Mario Brothers where player two starts from scratch, or does player two pick up at the last checkpoint player one got to?
I don't quite remember. I'm
Okay.
thinking it's just each one has like their own individual playthrough. So it's like when one person's somewhere, the other person's wherever they left
Okay.
off.
I see.
I don't think that they coincide with each other.
Because I agree with you. I think it'd be more fun to just pass the controller back and forth. I
Mm-hmm.
frankly think because listen, this game, anyone that hasn't played it, we're gonna get into what this game is all about. But like, it's not a matter of if you're going to die playing this game. It's a matter of how patient are you because you're going
Mm-hmm.
to die. I would love a death counter. I have to be in the hundreds. Have to be in the hundreds of times that I die playing this game. I think it would actually make it more fun to play it with a friend or two, like working together to solve the puzzles and stuff like that. Because half of this game is like getting into a new space, a new area, a new room, and then there were so many times where I just stood there for a minute and was like, how in the fuck am I gonna like what the fuck do you want me to do? Like that's what this game is, really. It's such a very like, did you own it? Like what the fuck? Like how did you guys so many people love this game? And I'm like, I didn't even know this game existed when I was like a teenager playing PS1. Where the fuck? I had
So
no
I
idea
think
this
I
game was
just
so popular.
so I think I discovered it during a demo disc, but then yeah, I did own it growing up. And so like I said, we would go to each other's houses and play it that way. But so yeah, I have played it since then. I feel like the last time I played it, it's been like a couple good 5, maybe more years since I played it last time.
Sure.
But so yeah, I spent a long time playing it. But speaking of the like taking time to figure things out, like that's one of the things I enjoy about it because you don't have a timer, you don't have
Mm-hmm.
any lives to worry about. You could just play the game as often as you want. So you can take the time to look at the room and be like, all right, so what am I supposed to do? If something doesn't work, you try something different, or if like you may have done it right, but then you got killed, you're like, okay, as long as I, don't fuck up,
Sure.
we're good.
Yeah, like so if you listen, if you've never played, first of all, like there's probably going to be spoilers in this. I admittedly, there's not really like the story is not the most incredible story ever. There's not like there's a ton of plot twists to spoil or anything. It's more going to be we're probably going to spoil some puzzles and stuff just to be aware. But like if you've never played it, the very quick version of this game is you control Abe, and he is how would you say it? What would you call his species?
So I've always pronounced it Mudokons, but
Okay.
then I decided to like look up the correct pronunciation for it, and it was supposedly pronounced Mutikins. But I'm like, well, I've always pronounced it Mudokons. I'm gonna keep pronouncing it Mudokons.
Yeah, and I was calling them Muddokins. So I don't
Yeah.
like fucking anyway. You control this character Abe, and he is a Muddokin, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Basically, a weird looking green alien thing, and his mouth is
Mm-hmm.
sewed shut. You probably if you've never everyone listening to this has probably at least seen a picture. You know what we're talking about. And basically, his like species is enslaved in this factory, and he's trying to break them all out. And so the whole game is about solving puzzles, platforming, and figuring out how to save 99 Mudokins. And that's the very, very quick basis of it. And the whole game is basically around screen after screen of puzzle after puzzle, how to get by the screen without dying with while also saving any of your, fellow captors that are on the screen. And it will fucking kill you over and over. One hit deaths, one mistake and you're dead. No fucking around. It is infinite lives and infinite continues. Hard as fuck. Hard as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask you, dude, like, because I'm gonna get into more of what I like and hate about this game. So when we do the main podcast, so I'll ask you. Obviously, you're quite fond of this game, or you wouldn't have picked it for the episode. What? Let's start with this. What don't you like? I want to do the negatives first. Is there anything about this game that you don't like before we get into the stuff you do like?
So I will agree with you on the checkpoint system is bullshit
Yes,
because it doesn't tell you where the checkpoints are. You just have to like kind of know.
yeah,
And if you think you're at a checkpoint, sometimes the game will remind you like, nope, you actually did not hit the checkpoint properly. So
yeah,
I will say like that is a pain in the ass. One of the other ones, and this is kind of like people will think like, well, it's the first game, you shouldn't really like give it shit for this, but it's like, well, I'm going to anyway. Um, later games implemented like a quick save feature, which this game doesn't have. So it's like if you fuck up, you go back to the checkpoint. You have no way to like, unless you're playing like on like an emulator or like
Yeah.
because I played it on the PS5 and it has like a quick save option or a rewind. I use the rewind near the end
Okay.
of the game because like I was like I'm not going to keep going back to the
Dude,
checkpoint. So I
those checkpoints, there are some that are incredibly generous and nice, and there are some
Mhm.
that are like vicious. It's almost like they forgot. Like they were like, oh fuck, we should put a checkpoint in. Like we've been designing this game. Like, and that's what it felt like at times.
Mhm.
You can lose 10, 15 minutes of work. And then you have to go back to that 10 or 15 minutes where it still is unforgiving and one mistake kills you. But then other times it's like every second screen is a fucking checkpoint. So yeah,
Yeah.
I played it on the PlayStation Classic, and it has save states built in. And all
Mhm.
of you can yell at me if you fucking want. I don't care. This game, I think save states are almost a necessity, and it's not about cheesing the game every 3 seconds. It's just about like I just did 5 minutes of work that I don't want to do again. I'm save stating. Like
Exactly.
it changes. Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, go ahead. I that's the biggest fault in this game to me is the checkpoint
I
system.
think the only other one I would have, and again, it's another small complaint, but that they've implemented is when you try to talk to the other Mudokons, you have to do it one at a time instead of
Yeah,
like so you would just say hello, they would respond, and then you have them follow you, but then you had have to go back to any others. So if you're like in a puzzle room where there's like 3 or 4 Medakins and you have to save them and you're being chased by like a scrab or something, you have to do that multiple times. Well,
yeah.
if you play the well, I'll also plug the remakes a little later. But if you're playing one that has the all of you feature, you can talk to them all at once,
Oh,
but this one doesn't have that.
that's
So,
so frustrating. Dude, you get to like a simple part where there's like two or three of them side by side by side. And then
mhm,
yeah, the first time I realized that I literally have to come back and do each one of you one at a time.
mhm,
Fuck, fuck, fuck you. I was so
right.
mad, fucking brutal. Um, okay, so then because I'm gonna get into some of it because there is another thing to this game that I fucking hate, which is the controls. But I'll rant about those when we get to the main podcast.
Mhm.
Um, so if that's the stuff you hate, then I'll ask you on the other side of the coin, what are your favorite parts of this game? Like, because it's creative as fuck. I'll give you
Mhm.
that. Whether I've got beefs with it or not, this game is as creative as anything I've ever seen on the PlayStation 1. So, like, what do you like about this game so much?
Well, even for a PS1 game, I always thought this game looked good.
Oh,
Like the
yes.
backgrounds, I thought were amazing. The enemy character sprites, I always enjoyed. I will say the only ones I will knock slightly are maybe the Madokan sprites themselves. But again, it's the PS1. You really can't knock
Yeah.
it too hard.
I
Um,
just sorry, I will quickly go out of my way to say that for my money, I think this might be the best looking PS1 game I've ever played.
oh yeah,
I loved
agreed.
it that much. I thought it was
Mhm.
gorgeous. Just wanted to say that. Go ahead. I
Yeah,
love
so
the look.
in the FMVs, I felt like were pretty well voice acted. And I always liked how Abe rhymed.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does it. I forget if he does it in see any sequels, but I know he does like a rhyme
Yeah.
whenever he talks. Um, favorite parts go. I think my favorites would be when you're in the temples and you do like the end parts where you have to like run for your life through them, and
Yeah.
you just got to keep moving. I know I've always enjoyed those the most.
Me too. I like those in any platforming game where it's
Hmm.
like it is trial and error, and it is like just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about. It's not the same, but it's think of like the cart levels in Donkey Kong Country, like
Yeah,
where it's just nonstop. It's not auto scrolling, but you
right,
can't stop. Like it is
right.
go go go, and it's just
Hmm.
a matter of like you're going to die, and then you better remember next time you have to jump there and stuff. I agree. I love those are my favorite parts of this whole game. Were those levels, 100%.
I also like the power up you get at the end. I think it's referred to as Shriekle, where
Yeah.
like you chant and you turn into that giant creature and you just basically annihilate everything on the screen.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
now, so I got that power up and then I don't think I used it again. Like, did I do something wrong? Like, how the fuck do you get to use it? I think I used it like once. Like, I
Well,
never got it.
there's bird in the last level. There's bird portals. I have like a number, and the number indicates how many Mudokons you have to send in the portal, and then they give it to you.
Oh, I saw the number and I thought it was like counting down till it like closed or something.
Right.
Oh, fuck. That makes sense. God damn it. Fuck, I suck at video
I
games.
think you're supposed to use it like at the end too. Like you get it, and then you wipe out the entire. Oh yeah, this is basically how the game ends. You wipe out the entire room of like the sligs and the
Yeah.
gluckins and stuff like that. But then like then you're captured. Oh yeah, I gotta mention like this game is basically an entire. takes place during an entire flashback. Like when you start the game, you see Abe is captured, and then everything that happens is like through a flashback.
Yeah. And then the endings in the game, there's multiple endings, and they're 100% dependent on how many of the Madokans, whatever you want to call them, that you save during the game. Like, which I think is a very, very clever touch. I thought that was really, really. I got the bad ending. I think I saved like 30. I sucked. And the bad ending is, dude, okay, shout out to this game because there's no boss fights and no final boss. And I love that because I hate boss fights. But like that bad ending, that's a fucking depressed, considering what you just went through to get to that bad ending. That bad ending fucking, it doesn't suck, but it's sad. Like, it's fucking depressing.
Yeah, the game basically just insults you. It's like, hey, dumbass, you might want to at least save 50 Mudokons before you do this again.
If you don't save at least 50, then you're caught, and then it shows the ones you did save, and they're like, we're not going to help him. He didn't help us. Fuck him.
Like,
you just get killed. I was like, wow. Not even like they're going to make me keep working. They're just like, no, you're dead now. Fuck you.
It's like, no.
Unreal.
Yeah.
Man.
It's the final troll job at the end.
It sure is. Fuck. Again, we'll get into it more on the main episode, but like, I rage quit so many times, but now that I've beaten it, part of me wants to go back and play it again and try to get everything. The last thing I wanted to ask you about the game is, so it's a very polarizing game. Just like, some people rank it as one of the best on the PlayStation, which now that I've played it through, I can see how it gets that. I think when most people think of the PS1, they think of Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, like those, but like to me, this game is, I can see how it's considered one of the best. It's just very, no pun intended, a very odd game. One of the things about it that I could see turning some people off, and people I've talked to that have played it and been like, it was the controls. It controls very weird. For a game that's so focused on platforming, it doesn't play like any platformer I've ever played in my life. So I'm just curious, like, do you like because I stick up for tank controls in Resident Evil. I think they add to the game. So do you like the controls in this game? Or like, am I out to lunch not liking them? I'm just curious.
I will say I do like the controls. Like, I know you were mentioning before, like, that you didn't like how up was jump, but like, I know it's like up is jump, like if you're standing still or walking slowly, because it's kind of like you're supposed to hoist yourself up onto a ledge above, so you would push up. But if you're running, you push the triangle button, you kind of do like this like little upward leap up in the air, and that's how you can kind of like, it's kind of like if you're like running in any game, you hit the thing at the right time, you just keep your momentum going, and then you don't have to worry about slowing down and getting killed. They do take a little bit to get used to, especially because there's like a lot you have to memorize, because like you also have to remember to like say hello, say follow me. You can even fart if you want to. Like,
shout out to being able to fart. It's awesome. Yeah.
I love how it's also a ending to every password you're supposed to do.
Every single one. Yes, I love that. It's like playing Simon Says. You have to like learn these codes, but you always the fart is always like hitting enter. And I love that. I love it. Any game that makes you fart. Yes. I
also love it, like if you fart like near a Mudok and they just laugh.
Yeah. Fuck. As we are, because we're a bunch of immature dipshits, but farting is funny. It's just like the controls work. It's just we'll get more into it in a minute, but like they're just very, very rigid. I think that's the way to put it. It doesn't play like Mario. Like, it's a platformer, but it's not a Mario style platformer at all. It's
I know. I got you.
And it's weird.
It's very precise.
Yeah, it is very and unforgiving as fuck. Like, it is holy fuck. Okay, so we should score this thing and wrap this up. Is there any other aspect of this game that we haven't brought up yet that you wanted to like sound off on before we put a score on this bad boy?
Honestly, I think we got it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to score it yet. I'm glad I still have time to think about this. While I was playing it and streaming it, you had already brought up the idea that we have to score this thing out of 99, which seems like the obvious, because there's 99 Mudokons or whatever you want to call them to save in the game. So that's an easy, obvious system. So I'll ask you, not talking the remake or anything. We're just talking the original Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. If we're scoring this bad boy out of 99, Blaine the Hoagie Man, what score are you slapping on this thing?
I think because it's a game called Oddworld, I should give it an odd number rating. So I think I'm going to give this a 93 out of 99.
It's a good score, man. I respect that. I respect it. You love this game. I went from being like, dude, this man's a masochist. Why the fuck do you like this game so much? To by the end of it, I was like, I get it. I could understand one would like this game so much. I wanted to ask you quickly before we wrap this up. What's the remake is Hot and Tasty or whatever the fuck it's called, right? Like
New and Tasty.
New and Tasty. That's a remake of this original. If someone was playing just one version, what would you recommend? Playing the original or playing the remake?
If they're hardcore into wanting to play the retro version, I would say that. But if they're just like, I've never played the series before and I want to start from the beginning, I would suggest a New and Tasty version because it does have a difficulty setting on it, so not everything would kill you in one go.
Okay.
But if you want to try it that way, you can jack it up all the way up, and so that it would work that way.
Okay.
And there are visual checkpoints, so you at least know where the checkpoints are at.
That's good stuff. Plus, you said you can talk to everybody at once.
Yeah, they implemented all the quality of life that the other sequels have had. But I will mention this. They upped the amount of Mudokons to 299, so it's no longer just 99 for that one.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Right.
That's good to know. I'll mention it in the main pod, everybody, but if you are interested in playing this, it is on the PlayStation Classic, like natively. There's no hacking or anything required. And it's funny, when I got my PlayStation Classic, I was like, dude, the only real notable games on this thing are Final Fantasy VII, Resident Evil, and Metal Gear Solid. But now I've played this, I'm like, no, this, I don't know if I would put it in the same category as those, because I think those games appeal. I think this is a very neat, like, I couldn't blanket recommend this game to everybody. Like, this is a very unique video game. But now that I've played it, and the quality of it is on par with those games for sure. I was very, by the time I was done, as mad as I was impressed. This is a pretty impressive fucking video game, man. Thank you very much for your generosity, Blaine, and obviously supporting the show. And thank you for turning me on to this game, because now that the smoke is settled and everything is done, I'm like, I'm impressed. This is a pretty good fucking, you're going to get a good score. This is a pretty good fucking video game.
That sounds good.
So I'm going to introduce my guests and everything, but I'm sure I've said this in the intro, but I was literally just saying off air, like I said to my buddy Tyler, I'm like, are you ready? And he was like, yep. And I was like, okay, I have a lot to get off my chest. I have been carrying this game around with me for like 3 fucking weeks. So joining me via the blank phone this week to talk Oddworld Abe's Oddysee, long time, one of our more popular guests. Don't let it go to your head, but yeah, people seem to like you. It's my buddy Tyler.
Wait.
What's up?
Too late. I'm the new star. It's my show.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen.
I'm the guest. It's your show now. Yeah, that's fair. That's all it takes. I know someone's going to swindle me out of this show eventually. I just didn't think it would be that easy to just be like, it's mine now.
And I'm honored it's me.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, our new guest speaker, comedian Adam Blank.
You did that too easily. That alarms me a little bit. This is why Shaylee won't give me any of our banking passwords or anything. Just because she's like, no, because you just. Anyways, so we're talking Oddworld Abe's Oddysee, and Tyler, I need a second to collect my thoughts. So I'm going to kick the ball to you. When we started working on this episode, as you guys have already heard, this episode was sponsored by Blaine, and we talked about it already. But when I was looking for one of my friends to come on this show, and I don't know why, dude, it's not a dig at you at all, but as soon as I started playing this, I was like, Tyler has played this fucking game. I just knew you had played it. So I'll shut up for a second. It explains a lot about you that you fucking played this game in your youth. What the fuck, man? What's your experience with this fucking game?
Well, it's to this day the hardest game I've ever played. Most frustrating. Anyway.
Yes.
Like, the controls are so. I love the artwork in this game. Like, absolutely influenced me in the shit I was drawing in, like, whatever. I would have been in grade like 8 or 9 when this came out.
Yeah.
Absolutely influenced everything I was drawing. Like, I loved I might have been even younger. I might have been in like grade 7 or 6, something like that. But just the like total 90s, reminiscent of like Much Music or MTV if you're in the States, like that art style of really grungy, gritty. You're in like this factory farm, but it's all like poorly dystopian, industrial. So love the artwork, love the style and everything. But I have never broken so many controllers.
Right, bro.
Oh man, I was going through PlayStation controllers like crazy with this game.
So okay.
To the point of like having to blame my brother, be like, "Oh, Justin, I don't know what happened. He did it. It wasn't me."
So,
when clearly I have like bits of controller in my face because I smashed it on the wall and it shattered in my face.
Okay, so first of all, thank you. And listen, I didn't take a ton of shit from people saying this game wasn't hard. Most people agreed this game is hard. But you're not going to get angry at him, I don't think, this week. I don't hate this game. I like this game quite a bit. But I do not remember the last time I rage quit a game this many times, but kept coming back. If you were following me on Twitter while I was playing through Oddworld Abe's Oddysee in August, I on numerous occasions tweeted, I'm done. I can't take this anymore. But then I kept coming back and I kept coming back, and we're going to get into it. This is one of the most unique games I've ever played. And there are things about this game. You mentioned the graphics, and I want to start with a positive. I will go as far as to say I think this is the best looking game I've ever played on the PlayStation 1. And that's the title that I had previously reserved for Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Because as much as I don't love that game, I think it's fucking gorgeous. But if I didn't know Oddworld Abe's Oddysee was a PS1 game, you could have easily convinced me that was a PS2 video game. Like, it is gorgeous. And I know your art. Like, you and I have known each other for a pretty long time. I get how this game influenced your art style. I totally get that. And
hugely.
Yeah, and even we'll get into the controls, we'll get into the mechanics, we'll get into all of that. But before we start on, because boy, this thing is like to quote George Costanza, this game is a fucking onion, man. It has layers, and the more layers you peel, the more it stinks. The difference is I like onions, so I can live with that. But like, before we get into all of that, just let me say, yes, I agree. Not only do the graphics look good, just when you're playing, like the way that what do you call those main characters? Do you know, like, what are they fucking, we were debating that when we recorded the first part of this. Like, what do you call the fucking, like, how do you say it?
They're not Murlocs. That's like Blizzard's thing.
Yeah, no, I'm looking up the name of what the Madokin.
It was like, huh?
Madokins?
Yeah, something like that. Sounded kind of like Murloc, but it was like Mudok or something.
Like,
Mudok?
Just the
like
design of them, the design of the bad guys, the backgrounds, particularly when you're in the factory. I was a little disappointed that you don't spend like that half of the game you're out of the factory, and we can get there. I actually like the gameplay out of the factory better, but I like the graphics better in the factory. I just thought it looked, this is artistically, this is a work of art, this video game. It really is. And I have to, like, the way that it goes from the gameplay to the cutscenes and shit, and it's like super smooth, like the transitions when you go through like a door and it like shifts you to another level and stuff. I can't say enough good things about how it looks. It's beautiful. Great looking video game.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, it's flawless. The cutscenes look great. I mean, and for the age, like, wait, this came out in like 98, 97?
97, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like, that's impressive, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you keep in mind that, like, and I'm not dunking on these games, but like when I think of the PS1, I think of like Resident Evil. I think of fucking Metal Gear Solid. And
the
like
first Tomb Raider, right?
Right, Final Fantasy VII. And like the
yeah,
characters,
like
the characters in those,
the polygon. Sorry.
No, the characters in those games, yeah, they're like 8 shapes just glued together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
this
is
the character. The character looks like he does in the cut screen.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look as smooth.
Yeah. No, it's
but it's flawless.
It's gorgeous. It's a really, and I'm sure. Listen, I'm 100% sure that is an easier thing to do in 2D than it is to do in 3D. But the point stands. Like, fucking gorgeous looking game. Now, oh boy. Now that we got that out of the way, I feel like overwhelmed by this. I don't even know where to fucking start with this. Like, if you've never played it, what would you classify this as? Like a puzzle platformer?
I would classify it as like ulcer.
An ulcer?
Yeah, an ulcer. Yeah.
Oh,
It
Christ.
was so dang hard.
Dude, it is so hard. And I had people criticizing me for saying it's hard. I'm sorry. It's a hard game. Maybe you're fucking a prodigy or something. It is a hard. Listen,
those people cheated and looked at a freaking walkthrough.
Maybe
because
they
there's
did.
There is no way anybody plays this game for the first time and isn't like, oh, this is really difficult.
Yeah.
There's no way somebody plays it and is like, oh, that was easy.
The game
Screw
is
that guy.
It's designed to kill you over and over.
Yep.
So like, I'll just quickly explain. If you've never played it, like the basic premise is you control this Mudderkin or whatever the fuck they're called, however you say it, named Abe, and he's like this weird looking, kind of like
a Jar Jar.
How would you describe him?
Like a Jar Jar Binks kind of dude,
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say
not,
like a tadpole
without
human.
the big ears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. Tadpole human. Think Jar Jar Binks meets Tadpole.
Weird fucking creature. And basically like your species has been like enslaved and you have to work in this factory for this guy and he's bad. And you
And the guy who's bad, I can't remember what his name is. It's like I don't know. It's like a P name. I just really can't remember.
Yeah, I got to look up his name because that's going to bother me. Go ahead.
Yeah. But you're on like Rupture Farm, and the dude you're working for is like your stereotypical like image of a 80s CEO. Like he's got the slick suit on, the big cigar. He's in a board meeting. He's just a total like, you know, this is definitely like a very 90s trope, but going against corporate greed and
100%. It's Moloch. Moloch the Gluckin. That's what he's called. What the fuck? You're right. And that's another thing that makes the art so great is the dude like wears a suit, has the big cigar, like he just looks like that greasy 90s cartoon. Like it's fucking perfect. And your species is like enslaved to work in this guy's factory, and then he's gonna turn them into food. He's gonna cut them up and make them into like a product to sell. And you basically have to like go through the game helping 99 of your species escape from this factory. That's the very basics of it.
That's a telltale of what era of gaming this is. The counter only goes to 99. There's no number past 99. That's what era this is from.
It's like I had some people like when I was playing it, I was talking to some friends that were playing it. Like some people were calling it like comparing it to Lemmings in a way and stuff like that. And I can see that, like the platforming with the solving puzzles. You're constantly like shifting screens and then getting into a new screen and having to figure out how to get past that screen. And if there's any of the Medalkins or whatever they're called on that screen, you have to figure out how to save them and how to avoid the enemies. Like it's very much built around a puzzle. And I love that. I love puzzle games. I love that. And I think a lot of the puzzles, frankly, are most of them are fairly clever. I like that too.
Yeah,
where this game will fucking break you is there's no health points, there's no health bar. You make one mistake, and that mistake can be as simple as jumping too late or not ducking in time, and we'll get more into the controls in a sec because the controls don't help at all. One mistake.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or just using the control.
Yeah, just using the controller. Yeah, one mistake and you are dead. And then you're going back to wherever the checkpoints are, which we'll get to, because that, frankly, is maybe my biggest fault in this game is the fucking checkpoints. And it is just so designed around trial and error. Like, it expects you to get into these new scenes, these new areas, the new levels, the new screens, whatever. And there's maybe, like, you look at it and you're like, there's 5 or 6 ways I could get, like, maybe get past this. Only 1 or 2 of them is going to work. But you're going to try them and die until you find the right one. It's designed to kill you. I would imagine your second playthrough of this game is maybe not as satisfying because you're not solving the puzzles, but it has to be a trillion times less frustrating because you know what to do.
especially if it's a quick second playthrough. Like if you're playing through and you just played through it, definitely would help, because otherwise relearning the controls would just infuriate me.
Oh my god, man! So about the controls, like obviously you've got the basics, right? Like Abe can walk left and right. He can run left and right. He can tiptoe left and right. If you run, you go faster, but you can alert enemies. If you tiptoe, you might not alert enemies, but you don't go as fast, blah, blah, blah. What's weird about it, and it took me a long time to really get my head around it. I love, like, I play, like, platformers are my bread and butter. Those are my favorite games, are platformers. And I'm so used to a platformer where it's pretty free, like a Mario or a Sonic or a Rayman or insert your favorite platformer here, where you can kind of walk wherever you want, you know? And in this game, you can't see it, but it's like you're walking on a grid. Like there is no partial steps. There's no crawling up to like a cliff. Like when you take a step, he moves that full, inch or whatever across the screen. You know what I'm saying? That is really, I don't know about you, but like I found that incredibly difficult to wrap my head around.
Yeah, and I think it's the way their movement animation is designed. Like I think this was designed very similarly to how Mortal Kombat was designed, where they have like I don't know how to describe it because I'm not a game developer, but it is like, it's almost like a cut screen for each movement for the characters.
Yeah.
So that's why there's no half step, because it's not like tracking you on a linear line. It's like you said, a grid, right?
Yeah. So like when you take a step forward, like you can't and I'm not, it's a stupid comparison, but like, when you play Mario, if you tap forward on the D-pad, you'll move forward just like, a few pixels or whatever. In this game, if you tap forward, you're taking that full step forward, no matter whether you like it, and he'll step off a cliff. He'll step right in front of an enemy. He'll step out of cover. Like there is no crawling. And so that was one of the things that took me a long time to get my head around, was just that, like, you basically have to commit to that full step when you take that step. And that can be a very difficult thing to do when you're learning to play a game with controls like that. And you're doing it in a game that is so unforgivingly difficult, where it's like, oh, you took a step when you shouldn't have, like, you're dead. Start over. And it's like, this is the most unforgiving game I think I've ever played. It is just, whoa. The only saving grace is that you have infinite lives.
Yeah.
But
it could be as simple as you're running and there's that like little half momentum that carries you out of the run. I can't count how many times I died from that.
And it's not just the way he steps and walks, but the jumping. So like up, if you're standing still, if you push up, you jump. And that's how you like jump up to grab a cliff above you to pull yourself up. When you're running or walking, you hit triangle and he'll do a jump forward. And there's a part, dude, right after you escape the factory. It's like the first level when you escape the factory, and it's like the blue sky and you're outside and it's like nighttime and it's like everything's like a shadow kind of silhouette. Do you know what I'm like? Looks awesome.
Yeah, you're still in the city and it's kind of like film noir-y.
Yes, yeah. Looks great.
Like detective city kind of thing.
But there's a part where you have to like you're on a ledge above, and below you, I don't know the names of any of the enemies, but below you is like one of those giant crab things that runs around. And then there's another ledge on the other side of the screen up above. And so you basically have to run, fall down to the level where that giant crab thing is, run across the screen, jump up, grab that ledge, and pull yourself up. And I was streaming it, and that was the first time I rage quit, because I died there so many fucking times before I finally wrap my head around, run off that cliff, run forward, and you have to... Like, it's not Mario where you hit jump whenever you want to jump. You need to plan that jump out in advance, because if you don't hit it before Abe has fully stepped onto the next space he's on, then you won't jump till he's on the next space. Like, you can't jump mid. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to plan your jump one space ahead of where you want to jump. It actually handles a lot like Tomb Raider, but in 2D.
Yeah.
And dude, I don't know about you, man. Like, maybe I'm just dumb. It took me so fucking long to figure out the jumping in this game. Fuck me.
No, it took me forever to. Like, I haven't replayed it, so I'm going off memory, but I was so frustrated with this game.
Yeah.
And it strictly stems from the movement. Like, the puzzles you'll figure out. You made a really good point about not being able to save till checkpoints, but I think when you're younger, your ability to play for hours is pretty prevalent. So it doesn't affect you as much. If I tried playing this now, I would be pissed.
Oh,
like
I was
absolutely livid.
And what's
Because
frustrating?
after an hour, I got other stuff to do. So it's like, all right, well, that was an hour where I made it through 3 parts of the level.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly. And what's frustrating is that, like you said, like you can solve the puzzles and you'll figure out the puzzle, but I can't. And by the end of the game, I had a fairly good grasp on the controls, and I'll get into that in a second. But for the first, I would say half of the game, I'd figure out a puzzle, and for the fucking life of me, I could not get Abe to do what I needed him to do to get past it. And I know what I have to do, but I can't make it do it. And every gamer listening to this, you've had a game like that where you know what you want the game to do, but you can't get it to do it. And my God, dude, it is just, I rage quit so many times. And the only thing that kept bringing me back to this, at one point, I went as far as to message Blaine, the dude that sponsored this episode, and say, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I was so mad. But I find the concept of it and the puzzle's so clever that I would walk away for 2 days and calm down. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm going to try it again. And motherfucked if it, like, I think it's a testament to how good this game is that, like, dude, if like, oh fuck, most games I would have quit. I would have been like, I'm done. I could not stop trying with this fucking game. Fuck me. You mentioned the checkpoints. Like you said, you haven't played it in a while. Like I have it fresh in my mind. I played it last month. I have the gray hair. I have new gray hair in my beard because of this game. Do you remember the checkpoints? Like, do you remember how broken that the checkpoint system in this game is?
Oh, infuriating. Like
Go ahead.
I kind of remember. Like I just remember being pissed every time.
Like it should be every screen. To me, it should be every screen. If you beat a screen, give you a check. And I know some people listening to this are going to be like, he's gone soft because games today have give him a checkpoint every 8 seconds. And you're right. You're not wrong. You're right. But that said, dude, the check with the sheer amount of like precision platforming and puzzle solving you have to do in this game to make one mistake and then get rewound back 5-10 minutes, you might have saved 3 of the Medokins or whatever they're called. It doesn't save it unless you find a checkpoint. And so if you die, you have to go save those fucking characters again.
So
And
even a compromise where the ones you've saved, you've always saved. Even when it reverts you.
Like
No
something.
problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I would happily have done that.
Even if it like, you know what? I'll do you one better. Just tell me when I've passed the checkpoint. Because I don't even know. Just tell me. Even if you want to leave them as spaced out as they are, just fucking, I don't know. Just have.
That's right. It's not a thing you hit or anything. It's not like a button. It's just you're at a checkpoint. You don't even know when you hit one.
No, they're ghosts. Like, have Abe be like, checkpoint. Like, something to fucking tell me. Because, like, I understand.
His nerdy little voice. That would have been perfect. In his little nerd voice.
Like, listen, I'll listen to an argument that it adds to the tension of the game to not know when you've had a checkpoint. I can see where you're coming from if you want to make that argument. I'm going to counter that I just think it's stupid. Like, I'm like, it's just, I'm so terrified. I found that I couldn't enjoy the game because I was so like, and admittedly, I played it on my PlayStation Classic, and it is one of the 20 games that natively come on the PlayStation Classic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you know what? And okay, so 2 points. One, with the checkpoints. I'll just straight up say it. And I know that this might be sacrilege to some of my my brothers and sisters in retro game arms. This game is designed to be played with save states. Like it is so much. And like, I didn't cheese them. I didn't use them every 3 seconds. But like, if you complete something really
how dare you?
Like, it's just, if you could, like, I'm not Mark McHugh who had to spam save states to get through Super Mario Brothers 3. Fuck you, Mark. It is like this game needs saves. It makes it so much easier. Like, it takes so much of the edge off. What I wanted to say just quickly, and then we'll get back to the game. Like, do you have a PlayStation Classic?
Nope.
Like, it's a piece of shit. It really is. If you don't hack it, it's a piece of shit. But
yeah, I've got an emulator for my PC and then a controller that works as a PlayStation.
Right.
Controller.
So then you're golden. Like with the PlayStation Classic, I've always like the big 3 games that are on it are Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, and Final Fantasy VII. And it's like those are not. arguably the three biggest PS1 games. Like arguably. I know there's others, but those are three of them for sure. I wrote this game off as like a throw-in, and now that I've played it, I'm like, it's frustrating. It's not for everybody, but this game is on the level of quality that those three are. I just wanted to say, like,
and this game was huge. Like, this isn't a small game. Like, they made 4 of these, 5 of these?
Yeah, I think they're at 5
like
now. I'm floored. I was shocked that anybody knew what this game was, and a ton of people did. Like, I must have missed it. Like, why did you get it? Like, was it a gift or something?
Oh, man, it was totally the cover. It was totally the cover artwork. I was like, oh, that looks weird. Yeah, I was weird out the gate. They were like, oh, that looks unique. We'll say unique, air quotes.
And it does. But, like, I always chalk this game up to just being like a shovelware PlayStation just put it on their game. And now that I've played it, I'm like, this game belongs in that conversation with Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil, Final Fantasy VII. Maybe it's not as influential as those games were, but it's as good. You know, like it's a good video
absolutely.
Game.
You know what I compare it to? And this is actually why I got it, is I thought it was going to be like Earthworm Jim. I thought it was going to be the same kind of like side-scrolling puzzle game.
Yeah.
I thought there would be more action than Earthworm Jim. So
Yeah.
as a kid, I was a little bit like, oh, how do you shoot? You just possess people? This is weird.
Agreed.
I got into it. I loved it.
Sure. Yeah, dude, I can totally see that. I kind of expected it to be like Earthworm Jim 2 until I started fucking playing it. The other controls. So we mentioned how he walks and runs and the weird fucking jumping. You can throw stuff, which I actually think is pretty usable. Like, that's normal. To me, one of the highlights of this game is the way you can make Abe talk and fart and stuff. Like, any game where you can fart on command is going to get bonus points. Frankly, it's the only thing that saves Fable in my book. I hate that game. But you can fart in it, and that's awesome. But, like, the way that, like, at first I thought it was just there as, like, a gimmick. I get that you can, like, talk to the other Madokans and, you know, be like, hello, follow me, wait, and stuff like that. But when you get into the later levels and you have to solve the puzzle, like, it'll, like, you'll learn, like, a password, and it'll be a mix of, like, whistles and then end it with a fart. And you have to, like, do, like, a Simon Says with it. I love that. Love that mechanic.
I love his nerdy little voice, too.
Me too. Dude, actually, you know what? We should, like, the voice acting in this game for the cutscenes and stuff is whoever does the voice of this Abe, I don't know who did the voice, nailed it. It's fucking really good voice acting. Like, oh yeah, and the way he
and in the cutscenes, like it does feel like leagues above video games that were coming out at the time.
No question, dude. I'll sit here right now and say that, like, I know this is gonna piss off a couple of members of the community, but I think that the person that voice acted Abe did a better job than the person that voice acted Titus on Final Fantasy X. Like, I think the voice acting in this is better. I fucking hate Titus so much, but I thought that was great, Again, I really thought that a lot, like, I understand how some of the sound effects are for talking to the other Madokans and getting them to follow you, but I really thought the whistles and the farting and stuff was, like, pointless and just for a laugh. And then when I get into the second half of the game and realize that you have to, like, you come across these other Madokans in the wild and they're like, password. And then you realize you have to go back to somewhere and memorize a pattern of whistles and a fart at the end to always be like the enter button. And then remember it and go back. I think that's I really enjoyed that mechanic a lot. And then what's that?
It's nice. It's got a bit of that potty humor. Like, I don't know. It's great. That's a great. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the farting fits the game. And then you've got
it does fit the motif, definitely.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And then you can do the chant, and if you've never played this game, so like you can hold down L1 and L2 and make Abe just do this like blah, 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 like this weird fucking chanting noise. And it basically has two effects. Number one, if you find a portal that you're the people you're saving can escape through, the chanting will open the portal.
This is his little psychic thing.
Yeah. But then, to me, the far cooler thing you could do with the chant is you can hypnotize the enemies and then use them. And you fully take them over. Like, you are in control of their whole. Like, it's like you're not controlling Abe anymore. You're controlling the enemy character. Yeah, and you can make them like walk and run and talk to each other and shoot their guns, and you can walk them into traps to trigger traps and stuff like. I thought that was I didn't figure that out until after I was out of the factory, like the first half, and then I was like, oh, I see. I think I just think that's a brilliant. That's the Lemmings effect. I thought that was a brilliant fucking mechanic. And then I love that you can also, once you take one over, you basically walk around the level, kill all the other enemies with them, and then use the chant again and like blow him up. Like, you know when a mosquito bites you and you can pinch your arm and then the mosquito will explode?
Yeah.
Like, that's what you can do to these guys, but like by chanting. And and I love that while you're chanting, they're like, no, 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 no. And then they give in. I like, there's no real way to fight enemies other than using grenades, but I also kind of like that. Like, I think that's...
Yeah, and the grenades are from this big egg that says boom. Like, you walk up and push the little button and the grenade comes out. Or the landmine.
Yeah, I like that mechanic a lot. So I'll ask you this, dude. Like, you've beaten this game, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. The first, third of the game, you're in the factory, and then you get out, and then, half of the game, you're in these, temples, and there's no Madokans around to save. You're just solving all these puzzles in these temples. And then you go back to the factory at the end of the game to save the rest of your brethren or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it's like the tribal temples. There's you're going around. It's like in the wilderness. You can ride on some kind of tauntaun beast thing.
Yeah,
like a horse kind of thing. It's more like a chocobo without its feathers.
It is totally. It's totally like a chocobo.
And it's like Ewok villages. Like there's rope ladders, or not rope ladders, but rope elevators to get up, and kind of a very Ewok-y feel.
Yeah, and it's broken into all these little levels. Like instead of being in this giant factory, I remember there being these two parts where you go in and then there's 8 doors for each of the 2 parts, and you have to go into each of the 8 doors and light a torch and get out, solve all these little puzzles. And there's no saving anybody. It's just you trying to solve all these little puzzles.
Yeah. Do you remember why? You played it more recently. I don't remember why you were in those temples. Is there some kind of storyline?
I don't remember either. I'm reading. Upon looking to the sky, Abe sees a moon with its face in the shape of a Madokan handprint, but becomes so focused that he falls down a cliff and smashes his head. A shaman of the Madokans, who Abe calls Big Face due to the mask he wears, helps him to recover by explaining he can only save his enslaved brethren from Rusher Farms. In order to do this, Abe must undergo spiritual trials in the land of the Paramites and the Scrabs. So I guess that's, I don't know. Because when you complete all those, you get given this crazy power that you can chant and blow everything up.
It's the ultimate weapon.
Yeah. So admittedly, I think the story's kind of stupid, but I don't care. I'm not playing it for the story.
Well, it fits Abe's personality.
Yeah, it does. What I'll ask you is, what did you like better, being in the factory and these big long levels and trying to save the Madokans, or not worrying about saving everyone and just doing these bite-sized puzzle levels? Was there one you like better?
I kind of liked doing the puzzle levels better because you could pick up, I think it was rocks you picked up or explosives or whatever, and you could have more than one. In the factory, you had to go back to that stupid egg and get 1 bomb per time. Whereas out in the wild, you could have 3 or 4 of those little, I think they were rocks you threw to blow stuff up. I felt like it was just, better scenery.
Yeah.
I liked, right when you get out of the factories, the, Film Noir cityscape, it's orange in some parts.
Yeah.
When you're in the sewers. I like that part probably the best, but
yeah,
I definitely like being out in the wilderness quite a bit.
Yeah, I really like the mechanic of you trying to find the 98 or whatever other, because I think you're the 99th one, but finding all the Madokans and saving them. I like that, but yeah, I actually enjoyed the game more when I was in those temples, and it was, I think part of it was because they were little bite-sized, the checkpoints were obvious. You'd go into a door. It was a little bite-sized puzzle. Once you solved it, it saved, and you came out and went to the next puzzle. And I just thought the puzzles were cleverer. And that was where I finally got a feel on the controls, because there's 2 or 3 instances in those puzzle levels where they do the basically the endless running, where they'll release an enemy behind you, and you're gonna die over and over till you memorize all of the platforming and the running and the jumping. And those are some of my favorite parts of the game. And I feel weird saying that because I like the setting of the factory and I like the story better in the factory. But I found myself infinitely more frustrated in and around the factory than I did when I was doing the temple levels. I just found them to be much. Yeah. I thought they were. Frankly, I thought some of them were really clever. Like some of the designs and some of the puzzles were really good. But it almost felt like you were playing a different game for like half the game.
Well, and like. You blow more stuff up out there, like cliffs and boulders, when you get that like red wave beam or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's parts where like the boulders coming at the screen look amazing, really 3D. I don't think you get much of that in the factory, but there's a part where you take like an elevator somewhere. I'm trying to remember this, but I remember being kind of floored because it was like this is designed like a lot of games at the time, where your foreground was what you could interact with, but then your background was like a static image that just kind of moved around, but it's layering, right?
Yeah.
And at one point you go on like this elevator and it transports you to the background.
Yeah.
And everything's 3D. It looks fantastic.
Dude.
Like, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, there's a few levels like that.
The factory is a very side-scrolling section of it. Like it's just kind of, lots of other games are like that at the time.
Yeah, there's a few areas where you end up going around in the background and then back up to the foreground and stuff. And I agree.
When you first get out of the factory and you're in the background and you're like all silhouetted. It looks so cool.
Yeah. I can't say enough for the artistic vision of this game. It was just, I really found it weird. Like when I finished the game, I was like, it really is like the first quarter of the game is game A. And then the middle, like the second and third quarter of the game are game B, where you're in these like puzzles and these temples. And there's no Mudokons around to be saved. Like the ones that are out there are free. They're the ones you do the passwords with like the whistling and the farts and stuff. And then for the fourth quarter of the game, you go back to the factory again. And I was just like, man, this is a very funky design. But it also worked. It kept me from getting too mad. Like when I got back to the factory, I started getting fucking mad again. But I also at that point had such a good handle on the controls that at least I could make them do what I wanted. It was just a matter of solving the puzzles.
Yeah, less accidental deaths, a lot more like, oh, I just suck deaths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fucking, oh my God, this game is hard. I'm trying to think of what else is in it. I wanted to vent about the checkpoints, which I fucking did. I wanted to vent about the fucking controls. I hate the fucking control. There's motherfucker. Anyone that was watching my streams remembers this. There was one part in when you return to the factory, there's this part where you have to hypnotize one of the bad guys with the guns, and you take out all the other enemies on this like long level. And then you come up to the end of the level and there's like a tunnel that's spitting out those like dogs. Do you know what I'm talking about? And I'm like, well, if I walk over there with Abe, those dogs massacre me and I don't have a way to stop them. And so I'm like, obviously I have to use the guard with the gun and walk over there and shoot the dog things. But then the game saved. The game itself saved me at a point where I had no guards with guns left. And so I was like, there's no way I need the guard with the gun to get past this, because the game would not soft lock me in. Do you know what I mean? And I tried forever and I could not figure it out. And then finally I asked, I was streaming it and I was like, what do I do? I hate that I have to ask, but what do I do? And they're like, you need the guard to go back and just shoot an endless trail of these dogs. There's like 24 of them. And I had to load up an old save and get back there because I had soft locked myself in without any guards. I was so mad. And I don't give a fuck. You could be the world's biggest Oddworld Abe's Oddysee fan and you can come in here and try to defend it, and that's fine. I will not move off that point. That puzzle sucked. That was broken. That was crap. It fucked me. And if I hadn't been able to look it up, I never would have finished it as a kid. I would have stopped right there. Because fuck you. Fuck you.
Just think how many people played this.
I'm done.
Think about how many people played this in the early days and just like got to that point where like, oh, I guess that's the game's broken. I can't do anything now. How many people would have taken the time to go back and figure that out?
Dude, if it just replenished one of the guards with the gun, I would be like, obviously, you're trying to give me this. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason he keeps coming back. I need him to get past this. I was so mad. I raged on stream like I have never raged before. And that fuck you. Fuck, I'm done. Sorry, go ahead. I'm done.
Okay.
I need some water.
So,
I'm done. Fuck.
Well, and I bet you, like, there's alpha testing, beta testing now in games. They have a whole panel of people who are part of the company who test levels, test environments, test for glitches. I bet you this didn't have any of that. So the dudes testing it were the people working on it, and guaranteed they knew how the puzzle worked. So they were just like, oh yeah, whatever. Never ran into that problem. Released it to the public, and I bet you they got flamed for it. Just a million people.
Yeah, you might be right. And the other thing about that puzzle that pissed me off was I did try that. Before I killed off all the guards, I walked a guard over there and shot the dogs. But they just keep coming. Like, it wasn't 3 or 4. We counted it. It was like 25. And I was like, I think I probably killed like a dozen. And I'm like, okay, clearly this isn't what I have to do. Like, they never stop. There must be a way to be able to sneak past this or something. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, why 25? Like, why not like 8? Like, what? Like what the? Oh, that fucking puzzle. No puzzle in this game made me as mad as that one. Because all of the other ones, at least once I figured them out, I'm like, I could have figured this out. I could have gotten the controls. That puzzle, I'm done. I'm not gonna fuck. I got it off my chest. I feel better. Fucking bullshit. That puzzle is fucking bullshit. Fuck you. Anyways, what else was there? Oh, so you actually have to save those Madokin dudes. And
yeah, I think there's 2 endings if you.
Yeah, I know so if you get under, okay, so like obviously spoilers, we're going to spoil the endings. If you don't rescue at least 50 of them, then at the end of the game, Moloch, the big bad guy, catches Abe, and you're like over a chute that'll drop you into like a slicer to make you into food to sell. And if you don't save at least 50, you're tied up there. And then it shows like a few of them, and they're like, well, he didn't do anything for us. Forget him. And you die. And that's the end of the game. And
you didn't beat the other way yet.
No, I looked up the good ending afterwards.
Yeah, the shaman guy, Big Head or whatever, he comes and saves you, basically.
Yeah, like if you rescue more than 50, then they zap the guy with lightning or something, and yeah, they save you. But first of all, what do you think of that ending? I like it. I love how cold that, like, they're like, you didn't save at least half of us? Fuck you. I thought that was a great ending, personally.
Awesome. Absolutely love it, because it's shocking. Like, especially, like, that's from an era where the hero always wins. No matter what, the hero wins. Like, every cartoon we watched around that time, everything that was coming out, hero always wins. You sometimes lost a secondary character, like the hero's best friend or his uncle or something, to, build emotion, but never the hero. Loved it. Loved the ending where, oh, sorry, main character's dead.
I loved it. And you know what I love the most about it is, like, this is a fucking hard video game. And you grind through this thing and you're like, all right. And then at the end you die. And it was like, what the fuck? Are you kidding me? That's vicious. I love it. I do like the multiple endings though. And I you know what I like is the way that while you're playing, when you're in the factory, there's like the fucking scoreboard behind you showing like total Madokins in captivity, 99, number saved, number lost or whatever. And so you always know, like, you don't know what the number is to get the better ending, but you always know where you stand as far as how many you saved. I thought that was really clever as well.
Well, and I love that it's not like a menu that you click into. Like, you don't hit pause and then it shows you. It's in the background. Like, you have to go to an area that has the scoreboard on it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Oh, that's where I wanted to go. I think part of what pissed me off so much about this game is that I'm the type of person that wants to find, like, I don't always have to get every collectible and stuff, but in a game like this, I want to save as many of the 99 as I possibly can. And I want you to, by all means, feel free to disagree with me or correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, to me, the first time you play through this game, you can't like, you can try to save a few of them. I think I saved like 34 or something. You can try to save them, but like, and anyone listening to this, if we're convincing you to try this game for the first time, do not get hung up on trying to save them all in your first run, because you won't. Like, you won't. The game like, in my opinion, without a walkthrough or something, you're expected to basically just stumble through your first playthrough. And then by the second one, you know what to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, agreed? Yeah. Or like I want to play it again now and try to save everybody. Because now I feel like I could. Because now I know the controls. But that first playthrough is just... like, it feels like your entire first run is a tutorial level. It's vicious.
Yeah, like the whole first playthrough is the tutorial.
Yeah, the entire run. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in a time before like YouTube or being able to look like everything up on the internet. Like, this came out when dial-up was a thing, so you weren't sitting there like calling the internet and being like, "Yo, I need a playthrough for Abe's Oddysee."
Yeah.
Oh, 48 days to download that video. Screw that. I'll take the text version. Oh, another 3 days. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'll just figure it out.
Yeah, it was like when I was playing it, even Blaine was like, "Dude, don't worry about saving everyone in your first run. Just beat the game, and then you'll feel better." But I didn't want to. I was like, "No, I want to save everybody. Like, I want to do it." And then you do eventually. Just like once you just accept the fact that you're not going to rescue them all, in my opinion at least, the game became a lot more enjoyable for me. Like my opinion, if someone's going to play this for the first time, just play it to beat the game. Saving everyone is like bonus content that you can do on a next playthrough. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it doesn't lose replay value. Like, if you play it once and then go back to play it again, like I spent hours playing.
Yeah.
This game and
I could totally see like replaying it. I want to, like, when I finished it, I said that in our Discord. I was like, I've done it. I beat it. That game took years off my life, but some weird fucked up part of me wants to go back and do it again and try to get everybody. Like, and that's the genius of that game.
Okay. So I've got 2 trivia bits for you. Well, 2.5. So you were talking about the voice actor that did all the characters.
Yeah.
One dude pretty much did everything.
Okay.
And it's the director and creator of the game, Lauren Laney.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, that's really impressive. Like you said, this is really great voice acting.
It's spectacular.
For the guy to be doing the whole project, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I was like, why the hell is his lips sewn up? Like, they don't cover that at all.
Yeah, why are his lips sewn shut?
So his skin color is blue because it's his sadness for his race being enslaved. And his lips are sewn up by his mom when he was a baby because he cried out so much, so that he wouldn't cry out and be murdered.
That's morbid.
Yeah, it's super depressing.
What the fuck? What a fucked up video game. Imagine explaining this game to someone that's never played video games. And you're like, well, there's these fucking tadpole humans, and they're blue because they're sad, and the main guy's mom sewed his mouth shut so that nobody would kill him. And you have to save them all.
She was the queen. She was the queen of their race.
Right. And you have to save them all before they're turned into snack food. But in the middle of saving them all, you get sent to a temple where like your ancestors live to learn how to chant electricity. And during the entire game, you can fart.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like, that's Oddworld Abe's. What the fuck is this game? I
feel like in the 90s, that pitch would have landed. Like, it's just a weird time.
Yeah.
You were getting weird shit on Much Music. Like, they had that.
That's MTV here in Canada for all of you Americans.
Yeah,
Much Music is our MTV. Yeah.
And same thing, like literally same thing. They played a lot of the same programs.
Yeah.
Whatever. But they had that like midnight thing where they would play like Beavis and Butthead and the Max and all these weird cartoons. This game is cut from that cloth.
Totally. This game is totally that Ren and Stimpy cloth. Like, it is a 90s fucking game. No question about it.
Earthworm Jim, like they all are very similar in like, oh, this is weird. People were weird in the 90s for some reason.
No question. You know what? So as we kind of start to wrap this down, you know what I respect about this game? We were just talking last week. We were watching the Gamescom conference, and they were showing off trailers for all these new games. And we were talking about, like, it's not that modern games are bad, but like indie games have retained that creativity. A lot of like the big budget AAA games have become so samey. Zombies or pirates, dark games, photorealistic, you know what I mean? And a game like this is just like, this is one of the most creative video games I think I've ever played. And
yeah, absolutely.
Some things about it fucking pissed me off. And some things about it are great. But like, as I you know, between comedy and these, I consider myself a fairly creative person. I look at this and I'm like, man, like, you guys, good. Like, they tried something different and it worked. It like, so here's the thing. Like, did you have friends that played this? Like, were you like the only weirdo that was playing this as a kid? Were you playing it with your buddies?
I think my brother played it a little bit, but my buddies weren't, because it's not like a buddies game.
No.
It was just, you know, there was other games we were playing as a group. Like, I think by the time this was out, GoldenEye was out, and you know, Mario Kart. Like those, that was your friends are coming over, you're busting out the 4-player thing.
Yeah. Like,
watch me do these puzzles. Or we would do taking turns Resident Evil. Like that was our jam. We would do Resident Evil, you know, midnight Resident Evil, streaming. Papa Saborn's coming downstairs with the belt. What the hell are you guys waking me up for?
Yeah. It's funny because he
didn't actually do that, by the way. My dad was a gentle giant. He would just yell.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm glad you threw that in there instead of being like, yo, can you take that part out later? I'm glad that you threw that in there. When I was playing this, I was tweeting about it a lot because I was just so fascinated by this game. And it was really, like, we've had other games where the community is split. Final Fantasy VIII is a great example where some people love it, some people hate it. But like, this game,
and we've talked about this. I'm on the opposite side of you.
Yeah, and like, but the thing is, like, I get it, and I get it with this game too. But like, I think I don't mean that people that don't like this game are too dumb to get it. I don't mean that at all. But like, this game either clicks with you or it doesn't, and like, it's not. You can't universally just blanket recommend this game to everybody. I can see how someone could get this game, rent it for a weekend, try it for a few hours, and be like, I have no fucking idea what is going on. Like,
yeah, it's kind of like Blade Runner or, you know, any of Denis Villeneuve's movies. Like, it's one of those things where, you know, you're not smart for watching it, but it is a niche audience.
Absolutely. It's a very, like, I seriously went from rage quitting this game half a dozen times to being like, that is like, this is probably a top 10 PS1 game for me. But I got comments from people that were like, that game's a masterpiece. I love that game. And I got comments from people being like, that game fucking sucks. It's stupid. It's broken. It's too hard. And like, it is certainly not, this game is not for everybody, but the people that get it, it's a work of art. It's a very impressive video game. It fucking makes me so fucking angry sometimes. But I have a lot of respect for this game. Like, I grew to really admire this game by the time I finished it. I'm so glad I didn't give up. Very neat. Have you played any of the others? Like any of the sequels, or I think there's like a remake of this one or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I just played this one. I knew the sequels came out, but I had gotten into like, I don't know, Xbox and other things,
sure.
PC. Like, I really shifted from in the 90s to the PC by the 2000s. So.
Right. Okay. So I know there's a remake of this one, Oddworld New and Tasty, which apparently is pretty good. And then there's a bunch of other games. And like, for all of you that have been asking, I don't know when I'll get around to it, but at some point I am going to try another game in this franchise. Like, I'm a fan. It took a long time to win me over, but it won me over.
Yeah, I'll play some of the sequels, but I feel like a remastering of this would be easy to do.
Sure.
Like, you just have to sharpen everything up.
Yeah, well, one of the things that, from what I understand, and I might be wrong, and Blaine, if you said this when you and I chatted for the first part of this podcast, I'm sorry, it's been like fucking 2 weeks since we had that chat. I don't remember everything.
It's been 2 decades. Get over it.
I want to say that they said that New and Tasty, there's like some quality of life things. There's like saves. Dude, you remember how like if you came across 2 or 3 characters in this game of the Madokans, you could only talk to one at a time, and you'd save one that have to come back. Apparently, in the new one, you can talk to all of them at once, like stuff like that. Like I'm interested. I'm gonna play this new and tasty one. Like so for all of basically, I guess what I'm trying to say as we wrap this up is like, if it sounded like I was being harsh on your game and you're a big Oddworld Abe's Oddysee fan, it never, dude. I don't think in 30 plus years of gaming, a game has ever taken that long to hook me, but still managed to get me by the end. Do you know what I mean? Like, I took the whole playthrough to be like, I fucking hate this game. And then when I finished it, I was like, I like that game. But it took the whole playthrough to fucking get there. Oh my God, what a fucked up game. I'm done. Did we forget anything? Is there anything else you want to bring up? I think.
We got to vote on it.
Oh, we got to score it. We're scoring it out of 99.
Out of 99?
Yeah, there's 99 Madokans. That just seems like the layup. That's like the easy one. So,
yeah, okay.
So, all right. So the floor is yours, sir. What would you score Oddworld Abe's Oddysee out of 99? Keep it in mind, you said you haven't played it in a long time. So any frustration, like, you're calm down. I still have nights where I wake up in a cold sweat over this fucking game, but it's only been a couple of weeks for me. So what do you got? What are you scoring out of 99?
I'm going to vote. I want to say 97 because that's the year it came out, but I don't think the controls killed it for me. So I'm going to say 85 out of 90.
All right. I was like 97.
And literally only the controls. Like, that's the only thing I hated. The only thing.
Yeah, I mean, while I was playing it, I would have given it like a 30. I was so mad. But now that I'm done and I see the whole picture, I'm like, I'll give it a 90. Like, the only things, the controls, even the controls I got used to by the end, my biggest gripe with this game is the checkpoints. They burn my ass. But I think this is a brilliant video game. I just think it's a great concept, well executed, well done. I promise all of you, I don't know when, I am going to play more games in the odd, like you, I'm a fan. You've got me. I'm on your team now. I get it. You know what? 91, because no final boss fight. That is a ballsy move. No final boss fight.
And the final boss, like that scene where you get captured, that's where the game starts, right? Like, you're captured at the beginning of the game. This is totally like a Tarantino layup where you're captured and then you go back in the past. I
forgot about that part, but you're right. Yes.
That was awesome.
And it is. That's brilliant. And I hate final bosses. And when I got there, I was like, any game, even if it's a game I hate, I don't know if Echo the Dolphin has a final boss, because no one knows, because no one's fucking gotten that far. But if it doesn't,
Echo the Dolphin is the final boss. Like, you just have to play it again.
I have a little bit of respect. Like, every game in the history of video games gets bonus points from me if it has the balls to not have a final boss. And this one did it, and I loved it. I melted at the end. I thought it was great. Fuck yeah.
Well, especially with the 2 endings, right? Like, the shocking ending is actually...
that ending is so good. That you grind through this hard as shit game just to die is fucking... spectacular. Fucking outstanding.
Now, do you hate final bosses because of disappointments like BioShock, where it's like, oh, that's the final boss?
I just hate... I don't hate every final boss across the board, but I hate most of them because, frankly, like 3 out of 4 final bosses is just like a crappy bullet sponge or whatever that just takes and I'm like, isn't, and that like I've always said my favorite final boss of all time is the final boss of Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo, where you fight Giant Bowser in the background and you're like whipping eggs at him. I love that boss fight. But that's what it is. I hate when bosses are just big bullet sponges. I hate it.
Yeah, so it's just disappointingly easy. Like, that's I call it the BioShock boss syndrome.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, that was just another enemy, and I had enough of everything to easily beat him.
Yeah, like, figure out a way to, like, make it clever, or better yet, don't have one. I like games that end with an escape sequence as opposed to a fucking final boss. I love a good escape sequence. So
I think that's one of the most genius things that Halo had in it. Halo 1 and Halo 3 was that
boy.
escape, like the escape of the Halo complex blowing up.
The escape in Halo 3, when like you're hanging out with Arbiter. Buddy. It turns me on. That's good shit.
Yeah, that's the way to do a final boss, is to have an action sequence. Yeah, I'm on board with that.
On that note, a whole bunch of you have been asking me if we're ever going to cover Halo 3. Yes. I don't know when, but sometime Halo 3 will get an episode, I promise.
This same episode. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. All right, we're talking Halo 3. No. Dude, before we wrap this up, you've been busy. What do you got going on? I'll shut up. This is your plugging up. Plug away.
Oh, my plug point.
Plug your shit. Get it right. The world's listening.
So since 2019, I've joined a small film studio for where we live called S762. We just released like our first-ish, like the directors had a couple other films. The first film that I'm in that did really well in the film festival circuit. It's on YouTube now, so I'm just kind of plugging the studio. It's the first film. We got 2 other ones coming out within the next year. But it's called Quiet Enable. It's a short film. It's 24 minutes. It's on YouTube. I would super appreciate if everybody checked it out, gave it a like, and then commented. Even if you hated it, just totally torch me in it. I'm the guy with the you can make fun of my acting, my terrible voice, everything and anything under the sun. But if you like it and comment, love it. Would really appreciate it.
What's it about? Like in 30 seconds or less, what's it about?
We're ripping off Metal Gear Solid. No, yeah. It's somewhat in the future, and it's about private military contractors in the Middle East, or not in the Middle East, pardon me, in Eastern Europe. And they're kind of like discovering this coup that's taking place. Basically, the director, Martin, is building kind of a cinematic universe in this like 40 years in the future kind of dystopian, geopolitical thing. So his stuff's really politically charged, but also like a lot of fun. He gets a lot of, airsoft guns for props and then builds these like pseudo sci-fi effects around it. So it's a neat like project to be part of.
Fucking rights, man. Good for you. That's fucking sick.
Yeah,
Tyler's
it's super fun.
Assuming that like we're recording this 8 days before the episode goes live, assuming Tyler doesn't forget to send me his information in the next 8 days, look in the description of this podcast and you'll be able to find all the information there if you want to check it out. So, buddy, that's fucking sick. So congrats on that. And thank you for doing this. I appreciate I fucking knew it, man. As soon as I knew it was Oddworld Abe's Oddysee, I was like, for some reason, I was just like, Tyler will have played this fucking game. I know he will. And you came through. So, buddy, thanks as always for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Any and every time.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Blaine, thank you so much for your generosity and support for sponsoring this episode and for introducing me to and not forcing me to stick with this game, but for convincing me to stick with this game and get through it, because now I really like it. Fuck me, was it frustrating. So thank you so much. And of course, Tyler, thank you so much for giving me a call and talking Oddworld Abe's Oddysee. Do not forget, you can find the link to Tyler's short film, Quiet Enable, in the description of this podcast. If you're interested in checking that bad boy out, that is everything this week. If you want more, first of all, if you're like, this podcast didn't suck, that was not that bad, maybe leave us a nice review. We're getting a total influx of good reviews lately, and they warm my heart, and they make me feel nice. I read them. I see them. So thank you to everyone leaving us nice reviews. And if you want more of these, there's over 200 bonus podcasts waiting for you the second you sign up at patreon.com/rememberthegame, and you're getting 2 additional podcasts every single week. And don't forget that 5% of your Patreon is being pledged to the Stollery Children's Hospital at the end of the year. As part of my 24-hour Remember the Children charity stream, we've raised almost $2,000 already. So you keep the lights on, you get a ton of podcasts. Or wait, I keep the lights on. Thanks to you. You get a ton of podcasts. We help out some children. It's fucking wins all around, all right? So check that out if you're interested, patreon.com/rememberthegame. I have a P.O. box. You can find the address at rememberthegamepodcast.com. Just shoot me some little postcard, a letter. Let me know where you're listening. I'll send you one back. We'll be friends. It's fun to do that kind of stuff. And don't forget, you can check me out on Twitch. I have been more active on there lately, but I really have no consistent schedule. I just log in whenever I have a chance. It's twitch.tv/memberthegame, not remember. Member the game. You can come by, see my stupid face. It's lots of fun. All right. That's going to do it for this week's episode. I will be back tomorrow for all of our Patreons with expansion pass number 127, where I review the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. Game patch 105.0 goes live on Friday with all the biggest news in modern games. And I'll be back next week with Remember the Game number 214, which will almost certainly be about Metroid for the NES. Should be a banger. Take it easy, everyone. I'm going to thank some patrons and get out of here. Talk to you on the next one. Cheers. Goodbye. Remember the Game is brought to you by our Patreons. I could not puke up all the content I churn out every week without all of your support. The following people are signed up at the senior executive vice president level or higher at patreon.com/rememberthegame, and as such, I am contractually obligated to butcher their names in a rushed thank you at the end of every podcast that I don't know if anyone listens to or not. So a huge thank you to Makeshift Mallow Magic Money, Joe Buck, Sharonic, Andre, Best Podcast Advice, James Clark, King Bahamut, Dave McGee, DNA Gaming, Slick Rick, Doug Dorn, Charlie Medeiros, Andrew Wright, Jordan Fraser Burns, Lil Bunny Fufu 89, Angry Ticks, Dave Thompson, No One Cares, Aaron Lawson, Nathan Tremblay, A-Town, Morgan Zay, Donovan Riot Kitchen, Mike Maloney, G9PSX, Mercury 869, Wolfgang Darren, Sam Wright, Andy Hudson, Chris Copland, Doogie, Wolf Magic 21, Johnny CCDC, Joel LeBlanc, Squints, Zonko 504, Russell Aldridge, Jeff Bergeron, Captain N, Daniel, Tunable Power, John Woodruff, Randy Barrage, Just a Fish, Snoop Q, Denzalo, Holmes, Zach Shepard, Chris Dickin, Matthew D'Amico, Frosty Feet 492, Triple, Austin Cook, Elijah Bird, Stephen Parnell, Raysen Wantongo, Zach Coiner, DBXJ, Jameer Williams, Steve Dalk, Phil McCracken, Trav H, Mizuru, Nicholas Chaffee, David Marcus, Phil Lencher, Ruben Elizald, Eric James, Riley Turvey, Jake Carter, Mexican Johnny, C-Spin, Thomas Smith, Nicola, Mudge Makuchi, Leroy Westrich, Dark Squall, Jerry the 3D Printed Saustrich, Russell, Russell, you just told me how to say your name, and I still don't fucking remember how to say your last name. Russell Sigi. I'm sorry, Russell, if I said it wrong again. Evolva, Sean Ramos, Stevie Cooper, Stud Still Smash, Mojo the Helper Monkey, Gabe, Dan Fusselman, Fuzzy99, Decoy Man, John Jameson, Blaine the Hoagie Man, Scary Terry, Bucky Duck, Hegel Waffle, Kayach, Jimothy, Joe Stone, Chris Williams, Oroku Saki's Gardener, Nicole Novak, Cody Richardson, General Fury, The Jamadian Nightmare, Matt Hamilton, Nomad, James Black, Drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. Okay, I just caught that. Sam Carpenter, Nerdy Hybrid, Adam Fletcher, not Aaron. Adam, the vastly superior Aarons. Adams, Colin Bollinger, Lucas, Joey Mercury, IR Jackal, Theron, Squeak Nuts, Isaias, Timmy the Exuberant, Tour Turtle, Lance Jones, Brian Neese, Christian Gabriel, Maverick Marty, Musty Beetle, Big Poppy Logan, Phil. You just told me to say your last name too. Stop telling me how to say your names because I'm not going to say them right. Phil Vow. I'm going to say it wrong no matter how you tell me. There's too many, and I'm not smart enough. So many people message me telling me how to say their names properly, and I make a conscious effort to try to remember, and then when push comes to shove, I forget how to do all of them. John M. Watkins, Beef Dingleberry, Michael Barjudana, Hitchy Poo, Arctic Fission, Romaldo Marquez, Connor McCann, Bulma Simp, Mark Nele, Darren Dickey, Trevor McKee, Quiet Place Queen, Cam Nelly 23, Zamatos, Skilla Rooney, Angelo Leonardo, Lugnut, Scott Weiss, Edgemaster P, Oh My God, It Froze, Bobby Litton, Roger Russell, Taylor Lynn White, Kia Pup. Oh, this is fucking horrendous. Kia Pup, knife goes in, guts come out. The worst iteration of the shoutouts ever. My God. I'm going to go dunk my head in some water. Take it easy, everybody. Thank you for the support. Purple Monkey Dishwasher.